I know you're tired of seeing me and hearing me, so luckily I can be no longer than 5 minutes, so that's good. I have no slides, and it's awesome, right? It came out really great. So I have no slides, and I also have to speak as fast as humanly possible because I have way too much content for 5 minutes. So here we go. This is called The Nerd's Guide to Gaining Adoption of New Technology Inside Large Change-Averse Organizations, which may be relevant to any of you or us who work in a large financial services company or bank here in Charlotte. As you know, there's probably many processes, gates, and gatekeepers. Let's say you discovered some new technology that you really like. It's going to help you be more efficient and improve things. And you would think, hey, this technology is going to sell itself, but it's not. Even if it's great, you have to get it in front of people. They need to know how to use it. And eventually, somebody needs to know how to support it. So for long-term viability, we need to take certain steps. I'm going to identify for you 3 routes, pros and cons each, on how to get your new technology in your company. The first one is going to be a formal project process. The second is going to be to run a skunkworks project. And the third, my favorite, I call the side channel attack. So number 1, running it as a formal project. You're probably familiar with this, especially if it costs money like licensing. So the prereq, obviously, you need to run your own POC. If the software requires licensing, get a trial. Figure out as much of the project parameters as you can up front so that you can do the best guarantee that it's going to succeed. For example, cost and impact of the problem, level of effort, duration of implementation, CapEx and OpEx. You're going to have to approximate all of this, and that's okay. This is just needed to help kick off the project. Remember that yesterday we learned the concept of the minimum viable prototype. Think minimum viable cost estimation. Basically, if the cost of the impact of the problem is greater than the cost of the project, congratulations, you have what we call a compelling business case. So write this all up in a brief, use reasonable words like could, may, possibly should. You just want to show that this project could possibly save money, but we need to do further analysis. Finally, though, you need to make sure that you're going to have the time and the bandwidth to run this, because if you don't, it's going to fail. You have to champion it, implement it, support it, write documentation, run training, eventually hand it over to whoever's going to support this. Also, you need to identify other stakeholders in the company. You got to reach out to them, have conversations, determine if you have buy-in. Hopefully you have, and then at that point, finally, you can propose this to whatever PM group in your organization onboards new technology. Give them the proposal, be honest. If there's potential pitfalls and negatives, don't sugarcoat it. Nothing falls faster than a hot potato. I just made that up. All right. Second possibility is to run a skunkworks project. That basically is a term that means a secret or out-of-band project. I've actually been to the real skunkworks. It's a place. It's a small elite division of Lockheed Martin that was tasked with designing the U-2, SR-71, the stealth fighter, and the F-22. How I got there is a story for another day, but the spoiler alert, it was quite disappointing because everything was classified, and I got to see nothing. That's the point. So the goal here is to create and implement something so awesome that nobody can refuse to accept it. If I gave you an SR-71, you will take it. It is awesome. If I present to you a functional kick-butt monitoring solution using ELK or Inflex or Prometheus or something along those lines, how can you turn it down? It works, it's there, it's done. So this is just from my personal experience. Several years ago, a coworker and I set up a graphite Grafana thing that worked really well. We pushed out collect D, wrote a bunch of scripts, but we didn't advertise it. We didn't say anything. We worked it out ourselves internally and started using it to troubleshoot issues. At the point where we were actually solving P1s and P2s using this, it finally started to gain widespread adoption. And by that point, we had already smoothed out all of the issues. So we showed value, but we still had to support it. All right, the final method is the side channel attack. So at this same previous company, we had a required standard of using Subversion. We were secretly using Git, but that was against policy. I had a project to implement configuration management. Yes, that's how behind the times we were. We were going with Ansible Tower because that was what we picked. That was actually before Red Hat acquisition. So can you technically use Subversion with Tower? Yes, you can. But I spent a lot of time talking to our reps, consultant, support tickets, and I eventually was able to get Ansible to provide me with the best practices document that says, Git is recommended for optimum flexibility. And presto, now my Ansible project was a project that included introducing Git into the company, introducing in quotes, because like I said, we were already secretly using it. So now I got to define the standards, the workflow, how it all works, and that worked great. So as you can see, all of these different methods are going to require effort on your part. You're going to have to pick and choose which way, depending on, again, if there's cost or not, and the strategy of getting this into your company. But remember that long-term support, documentation, and handover is going to be key for keeping it long-term. But so it's going to be work, but if it makes your life easier, or your manager's life easier, or someone's life easier who is going to benefit from it, it's going to be worth it. Thank you.